Today's episode of Strong Links is brought to you by Dan and Van, Sleaford and the surrounding area's #1 man with a van service. And now for today's show.
Hello and welcome to Extra Strong Links. My name's Rich and I'm here with my good friend Dan as usual. Hello Dan.
Hey Rich, you okay?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good, yeah. We're somewhere very special today.
We are. We've gone on a special trip again. We came here in the last episode, didn't we?
Yeah, we're back.
We enjoyed it so much that we just wanted to come back, didn't we?
We did.
So here we are at the console room in South Kyle. We saw the launch of it in July, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
And
we're back in the TARDIS.
Back in the TARDIS, yes.
Not bad.
Now, we've got the mastermind behind the console room with us this evening.
Brendan. Hello, Brendan.
Hello, good evening,
Hey,
gents.
brother.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.
You're very
Yeah,
welcome.
it's brilliant.
It's fun, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's we enjoyed it so much. There was a lot going on that day. You had Ace, you had a lot of press people, the BBC, and we did get a chance to talk at the end,
Albeit briefly.
Yeah.
So, yes.
So we thought we'd come back and have a proper chat with
Good.
you.
Yeah.
But how's it been going since we were here?
Since the launch day, it has been manic, is the only way I can describe it. So we've been in all the national newspapers, so Sun, Daily Mirror, Mail, everything. That was a real big coup, I think, for us. We've been approached by ITVs this morning to be on there. We've been on the BBC loads. The BBC have been amazing, actually, throughout this. And bookings, as you can imagine, with all that publicity, went a little bit crazy. So we're now booking into October. And even then, we haven't got a lot of room, so we're really into sort of late November now for people. There are the odd occasional bit. And we actually we got inundated with so many people wanting to come that actually we had to open a 4:00 slot in August, and they're all sold out.
Wow. We need to get in quick.
We do. I mean, we're wanting to do this experience ourselves, properly. We need to get booked in, Dan.
Yeah.
We'll do that before we go.
Yeah.
They're coming from all over, aren't they, Brendan?
Yeah.
You tell us.
Yeah, so we've had people from as far north as Aberdeen, Glasgow, Edinburgh, loads from Newcastle. Shout out to Newcastle, yay! Because we've had a few from Newcastle, Sunderland, but we've also had North Wales, South Wales, Gloucester. We've had Devon, and we had one chap who has come all the way from Calais.
Wow!
And they specifically came over from Calais to do this. They didn't, they weren't visiting somebody else or whatever. And we've got a chap coming from Australia, but he is on another tour of the UK, but he's made this one of his spots. So, yeah, I mean, they're coming from everywhere but Gallifrey itself, it seems.
So you're doing some good business for the tourist industry in Lincolnshire. It's great.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of them...
Lincolnshire on the map.
Well, it has a little bit. And the interesting thing is we must go out, and talk to some of these other companies around here, because a lot of them are saying they're staying at the local B&Bs or they're staying at the Premier Inn. Like the chap who came from Aberdeen said, I stayed in the, hotel in Lincoln, and somebody stayed here, I think, in North Kyle. So yeah, we are. Inadvertently, we are, yes.
And what kind of reactions are you getting from people?
That's really great question. Actually, one of the privileges of doing this and being a fan is that you do get to see them as they walk into the console room. And generally, the reaction is pretty similar to Sophie Aldred-Ace's when she walked in. It's wow. Oh, wow. And the thing is, when they're playing the game, outside the interactive game, they coming into the TARDIS is part of the game. So when they come in, they kind of are still in game mode, and then they take a minute to really look around, and we get a lot of wows.
So the game starts outside of the...
So the aim of the game
room.
is you've got 20 minutes. It's a 20-minute interactive game before you come in. The aim of the game is to get into the TARDIS, is to find the key and get in the TARDIS. And recently, that game we played with just Peter Davison as the Doctor. But now we've recently added Janet Fielding. So now you're going to play it with the Doctor and Tegan.
That is amazing.
In a cool audio story, yeah. It's very interactive.
So Peter Davison recorded the audio specifically for this.
Yes, it's a brand new episode of Doctor Who, completely brand new, set in, the 1983 era. So if you love that era of Doctor Who, and we're actually also chatting to Sophie Aldred as Ace and Sylvester McCoy as the Seventh Doctor to get a Seventh Doctor and Ace version. And we hope that next year I might be able to get Colin and Nicola to do a Sixth Doctor and Perry version as well.
Wow, that'd be amazing.
Which would be great.
Guys, so clever.
We've had fan mail as well, which I thought was very odd.
Yeah.
We got a letter to the house the other day, and it was a beautifully written letter, but the fan never signed it. So whoever you are, let us know who you were. And they just said from one Doctor Who fan to another, and sent us these beautiful TARDIS stickers, which was really incredible.
How lovely.
It was lovely. And we had a lovely story about, I've got a couple of stories about people that have visited. One of them was a family. We get a lot of families, which is lovely.
That's really
But there was this young girl who, I'm sure she won't mind me telling you this, but there's a sequence in which, now how can I put this without giving away all the spoilers of the game, in which a monster appears in the game, but it appears in the same room as you, let's put it like that.
Okay.
But they don't see it initially because it's hidden. And then it appears, and when it appeared, this girl shrieked like you wouldn't believe. Absolutely, oh my God! And I hid behind Mum, shaking, and I went, it's asleep, whatever you do, don't wake it up, because that's actually a line in the game. Right. Well, this guy, and then of course, it vanishes when they're looking for the game, and she was like, oh my God, where's it gone? Where's it gone? That just made it worse.
Wow.
So that was a fun story. When she came in here, she totally relaxed, because this TARDIS gives you a sense of safety.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's very relaxing in here at the moment. It's the lights from the
roundels.
The roundels.
We've turned the console off just while we're recording, so the lights aren't on at the moment. But we were debating how many buttons are actually on this console, and I mean,
I think you said 100 initially.
Yeah, and that seemed a bit of a low estimate. I think, having thought about it, having gone away and thought about it, I think there's some more. So
go on,
you know how many there are, don't you?
I do know exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have a guess?
Yeah, I think we should.
Okay, go on. You go first.
I go first. Let me say 350.
Okay.
Well, I said 1,000, didn't I, in the previous episode when we were here for the launch? But I'm going to say 842.
That's a good number. 1,136.
Wow.
I said 1,000, didn't I? I should have stuck with that.
You should have stuck with me. Yeah.
The buttons are interesting. They've got a little story behind them. So some of them do. There are buttons that are flicky switches. Now, interestingly enough, there are 3 different colors. They are red and white and black, but you can't buy white anymore. And they're not available anywhere in the world.
Really?
No, they're not. So we had to take them apart, the black ones apart, and paint them.
Oh, okay.
The rocker switches, those ones, they don't exist anywhere in the world either. They stopped making these a few years ago.
Okay.
So again, we had to make them, spray them, build them, 3D print, and make each one so they look exactly. They're getting a bit rough. Look, you see there as people are pressing them, but that's good because that gives it a bit of authenticity.
Yeah.
There are Scrabble tiles.
Okay.
Those are actually Scrabble tiles. But they are 1983 Scrabble tiles, not Scrabble tiles of 2026, because if you look at them, they're hollow and they're not the same. And we had to actually mold these and fill them, so they're actually filled with a mold. So each one of them needed built. We needed to get a 1983 one, so we sourced them, and then we filled each one, and then we sprayed them, and then we glued them. But probably the best story are the famous black ones that anyone who's familiar with this console will know.
So I recognise those. Mm-hmm. Can I say where I think they're from?
Yeah.
So I think they're from an old. We had computers back in the day. They were BBC computers, and they look like the knobs off of those.
They do, but they're not.
Okay.
I think in 1983, if the BBC had have ripped apart a BBC computer, which was quite expensive at the time, I think there'd have been words.
Okay.
Now, interestingly,
were BBC computers part of the BBC?
Don't know actually. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Possibly. I don't know, maybe.
Maybe.
Possibly. But there are long ones and there are short ones, for want of a better word. Now, these have a very interesting story because the fella who, when we went to measure the panels at the museum in Swindon, he brought out all the panels and then we talked about these black buttons, and I showed him a picture of him and says, yeah, but look at these black buttons. And he says, well, do you happen to know what they're from? And I said, yes, they're from a telex machine, which was an old-fashioned, before email, there was telex. And telex, this specific type of machine had specific types of, we know it was from a telex machine because of the different type, there's things that say rubite, and there's things that if you look around here, there's different ones. There's alt mode and line feed and end and tab and, you know, those sorts of things. So we were able to work out what machine it was. And he said, we got one of those, hang on. And he went out, and 20 minutes later, back he came with the telex machine, and he said, no, you can't take these buttons, but you can take a mold of them if you want. And so we made a mold of the buttons that we were able then to 3D print, and that meant that we got the exact measurement, width, curvature, and even the little lip that's in the top there.
Yeah.
And even the bottoms underneath, there's 2 empty holes where our pressing feature, where the pressing, you know, you can hear some of them click underneath your hands, where they press down. But also on top of that, we needed to get the right font. We needed to get the right size of font.
Yeah.
We then needed to get all the correct wording. We then all need to put the correct wording in the correct places, and then we needed to cut each one of the stickers out individually, peel them, stick them, peel them, stick them across all of the however many of these there are, 800.
So that's 3D printed.
That's
Is that
3D printed, yeah.
like that? That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you've really not cut any corners whatsoever in the details. It's completely authentic, isn't it?
Yes, it is. We've had some interesting conversations with fans. We had a let's just say a hardcore fan. Little did he know that we are also die-hard fans. But he mentioned the 2 white bars you can see in the time rotor, which is in the center of the console. He mentioned the fact that, but your 2 bars that flash, your 2 flashing bars, he said they go above the interior, I don't know what you call those, like
Structure.
Interior. He said they go above it. Well, they didn't do that in the series, so it can't. You're saying it's 100% accurate, so that's clearly wrong. And then, bless him, I had to then tell him that Mike Kelt, who originally built this console room, and our meticulous research, of course, which was 7 years worth of meticulous research, we researched it to the point of paranoia, and it is above. But it is only above in the 5 Doctors, and this is a 5 Doctors console. Right. It's really important because what happened in the production was that during the next 2 stories, Warriors of the Deep and The Awakening, a production crew member lifted that out for, to move it back into the scene dock, as you would do, and dropped it. Oh. So fans will notice at the beginning of Resurrection of the Daleks or the end of Frontios, watch those scenes again. You'll see the time rotor is actually damaged. It's quite badly damaged. Yeah. The whole entire upper structure was damaged, but also crucially, the lights in the middle were also damaged. Right. And that meant that they all needed to be replaced, and they were replaced with a slightly cheaper material that was smaller and thinner.
Oh, right.
So that meant that the bars didn't go above the interior structure in future stories. But in the 5 Doctors, it most certainly did. Wow. And so ours do too.
That is amazing. So that attention to detail is just...
There was a moment on the launch day, I remember Sophie Aldred commenting about the level of geekiness on this console. And...
It has to be. It has to be. I mean, if you're going to embark on something like this, there is absolutely no point in, doing it, half-arsed, really. Yeah. There really isn't. I mean, even to the point where our CRT monitors inside actually do, if you run your finger across the front of them, they do curve like CRT monitors. They are not flat screen. No. And trying to do that in this day and age is actually quite hard. Yeah. Very difficult. We had to vacuum form the screens and all of that to get that sort of beveled look so that it looks exactly as it did.
So the screens you've made those.
Yeah, we had to make them because they don't exist anymore. So yeah. Do you remember your old CRT monitors that beveled on the front? You know, we're all old enough to remember that. Well, these were ones that were used, I imagine, in television galleries. You know, I was a television director for a long time, so I was very used to seeing these small screens, but they beveled on the front, and obviously they've just lifted one out and put it inside the console, which was fine. But of course, today it's all flat screens and iPads, which you can't really use on something like you've got to do it properly.
Yeah.
You know, even the attention to detail on the curvature of these monitor panels. You know, Simon's done a great job in terms of curving the wood correctly so that it looks like it's fiberglass, when in fact this is wood.
Oh, that's wood.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to tell, isn't it?
I would never have known that.
No.
It's
even that's wood. All those individual slats, yeah. It's all wood.
God, he's so clever.
He's very clever. He's probably, you know, arguably one of the most talented carpenters I think I've ever met.
Yeah.
Him and Graham and Josh at Moulton College, let's face it, I think for somebody like Graham who's starting his career, you know, if you look at this pillar, for example, you know, nobody really notices the attention to detail right here, because it's actually angled and then angled again.
Oh,
so there's a double angle, because if you run your hand at the bottom of that,
so
at
I'm
the bottom
just
of
running
that,
my hand along these uprights.
So
it is, isn't it?
They're angled outwards and they're angled that way.
That's how it would have been in the...
Yeah. It's that detail. Now, imagine somebody like Graham, who's, you know, new and he's just finished his apprenticeships, being able to do something as complicated as that.
Yeah.
You know, and then for each one of these and getting it right every single time. You know, that is real. I mean, I have to give it to Graham and Josh. They are really, really talented. We're talking about talented and then mega talented, which is where they are.
Well, it's that attention to detail, isn't it? Like going that extra step further with it. It is. It's are these Randalls? What are they? Fiberglass?
So they're the fiberglass molds from the original set. So So Mark Barton-Hill, who is possibly one of the nicest, kindest, loving guys. He was here, actually, wasn't he, on lunch day?
Yeah.
Guy with the mustache and the dog. He great dancer as well. Well, he is, but he is a massive Doctor Who fan like us, and he owns the Tom Baker full-size console room. So he has the TARDIS console room from Tom Baker's era, which is a bit smaller than this, but equally as detailed and equally as beautiful. And he, you know, has poured obviously his heart and soul into that thing. Not as many buttons, right? Which he was lucky. But anyway, he got an original Roundel from the 1983 Longleat exhibition. I think he bought it, or maybe it was in an auction and he got it, and he kept it, and then he made a mold from it, and ever since he's been able to supply people with these molds.
God, that's
and he did all of these for us. And interestingly, again, another sort of interesting fact is the inner door there. So the inner door has 3 see-through ones, or ones like the ones that are on the wall. However, during a story, that's what it looked like in Planet of Fire and most of season 21, except 5 Doctors, and all the way up to a story called Planet of Fire, which was about 6 in to season 21, and then a production crew member. I think they made a mistake, because what happened was, in Planet of Fire, the Doctor's TARDIS was painted black. So they spent a night painting the entire set black, and unfortunately they painted over those roundels as well black, so it would become the Master's TARDIS.
Oh.
And then what happened is when they came back, they suddenly realised, oh no, we've painted over the inner door roundels. So they then became the grey, full-size grey, from that story onwards. So again, we've returned it back to the way it was in the 5 Doctors, and now they are see-through, as they should have been.
Wow.
Interesting fact.
That is amazing. It's when I was talking to Sophie, she was saying she only appeared in the TARDIS 3 times, I think.
Yes, that's right.
So she said there was just one side that they were filming against, but I suppose in other scenes it was like 360.
So she filmed in Dragonfire, which would have looked at how you see it today. And then the next time she filmed was in The Greatest Show in the Galaxy, which was the full-size set, except it was really falling apart at that point. You can see it if you watch carefully.
right.
Watch the Blu-ray. It isn't in the greatest state. And somewhere between season 25 and 26, they destroyed the entire outer set, and it's never been recreated until now.
Wow.
So and I think that's astonishing, considering Doctor Who's come back, its popularity.
Yeah.
There's been museums, there's been exhibitions, but they've never recreated this console room back. So that we can confidently say this is the only one in the country. But in her last time in the console room, the red gels in the center time column were removed. One of the flashing ones didn't work. And also, because they'd got rid of the entire TARDIS set, I imagine the producer, John Nathan Turner, was probably like, where is my TARDIS? Yeah. And what they did was they turned the lights off and just put a drape and drew some circles on it. Yeah. And so if you look at that story, it looks very different. And there's a lovely line where she goes, why is it dark in here? And he says, I'm working, be quiet. So yeah, it would be nice to see that scene where Sophie and Sylvester recreated, but in the proper console room as it should have been filmed.
So tell us about your background, because you've been part of the Doctor Who world, haven't you? You've worked in it. Obviously, you were a fan growing up. You put the dressing gown on as a kid and pretended you were the Doctor. But you've been part of the Doctor Who world, haven't you?
I moved from Belfast to England because at the time there was no work in television in Northern Ireland, or at least there was, but it was very minor. And I knew I always wanted to work in television. I had a massive passion for television. I was always writing, always directing, and wearing the dressing gowns out in the street, good Lord. And I always pretended that I was in the TARDIS console room, so it was a big part of my childhood. And I became ITV's youngest network television director. I think I was 19 when I started working at CITV. I don't think they knew that. I think I told them I was 25 or something like that. Anyway, they never questioned it. And it was wonderful. And my aim was to get to Doctor Who, and that must have been somewhere 2000, 2001. I was working with Stephen Mulhern and and Michael Underwood and Leah Charles and all those great, Roland Rat, all of those wonderful, Sooty, got to work with Sooty, and we got to work with all of these great people. It was really weird directing grot bags, and that kind of thing. And I had a wonderful time in children's, and then I was poached. I was actually poached. There was a wonderful producer called Tim Lowe, who is ever such a nice man, and I owe him a great debt of gratitude, because Tim... I think I went for an interview at the BBC. I heard nothing, and Tim believed in me and gave me a shot at directing children's. And we got a BAFTA nomination and all the rest for Nelly Not Live, and it was a wonderful show to work on. And I will be forever in my debt to Tim. And Tim said, look, well, what do you really want to do? And I'm like, I really want to work on Doctor Who. It's my thing. And he's like, right, okay, go and see. And I can't remember who it was. John. He directs Grace now on ITV. And I've forgotten what his surname is. John East, who was the head of drama then at BBC, then gave me my shot in drama, sent me over to Canada. I directed a big show over there. And then when I came back, I obviously had a bit of gravitas because I was running my own show and I was doing, I had a lot going for me. And I was still in my mid-20s, really. Oh. And then I met a guy called Steve Roberts in the BBC canteen. It might have even been, and he just said, why don't you talk to Dan Hall, who was the executive producer of Doctor Who's DVD range. And I'd spoken to Phil Collinson, who was the producer of Doctor Who then in RTD Era 1. And he was kind of like, let's come on, we'll do some stuff. And eventually I then worked my way onto Doctor Who and spent 5 amazing years working on the show, producing. And that's where I got to meet Peter and Sylvester and Colin and got to know them personally, and Tom and all the rest of it. And then got to know David Tennant and, got to know just loads of people through that. And spent 5 very happy years working on it. It was hard work, but it was great. I wish I'd have had this then.
Yeah. Wow.
It was a wonderful, wonderful career, and I miss it actually a lot. In some respects, I don't miss it because it was very hard work, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day, even at weekends, not seeing your family grow up, I've got 6 kids, and living in camper vans in the middle. I actually had a camper van on what we call West Hill, which was in BBC Television Centre grounds. And I lived in the camper van because we lived in Stoke-on-Trent, so it didn't make much sense for me to commute. So I bought this cheap, nasty camper van, lived in it, and then got all kinds of people knocking on the door. Matt Baker from Blue Peter used to wake me up buying the thing. And then one night, I've got to tell you, it was really funny. The Jonathan Ross show used to film in Television Centre, and I was only outside TC4, which was one of the television studios. And one night, I got this sort of faint knock on the side of my camper van. And I'll never forget this because it was one of the highlights of my career. And it was like, oh, for God's sake, I'm putting my dressing gown on. And I slid open the side door, and in front of me was Ronnie Barker.
You're joking.
I'm not joking. It was Ronnie Barker. And he went, oh, hello. Yeah, I'm just wondering who's sleeping in Television Centre, really. And I just went, Ronnie Barker. And he's like, yes. And he said, so what are you doing? And I told him, why I was there and what I was doing. And he said, well, surely the BBC could have found a bedroom for you somewhere in this big building. And it was hilariously funny. They were filming the Two Ronnie sketchbook.
Oh, yeah.
In television, and he had come down, and his car, turns out, was parked behind mine. And how
surreal is that?
Very surreal, very surreal. I mean, I had loads. And one of my bestest friends, one of my closest friends was Caroline Flack.
Oh.
I directed Caroline in her first ever telly, which was Nation 217. And Caroline and I initially were I was director, she was presenter, she was new. I was kind of going, just relax, it'll be fine, it'll be great, you're really confident. And she was very, and I said, it'll be great. And we happened to do the next few shifts, and I was still sleeping in my camper van, except this time in a car park of a different television studio, but just before I joined the BBC. And she and we just became great friends. We became extremely good friends.
Yeah.
And I loved that. I loved her enthusiasm, and I loved her. She was the most amazing woman. And ironically, we both got our gigs at the BBC on the same day. So we actually joined the BBC at the same day. And I said, is this not the weirdest thing ever? And she's like, yeah. And she said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to East Hill. I said, where are you going? She says, I'm going to Children's as well, but I'm going somewhere else. And then I think she went to work with Sam and Mark or whoever it was at the time, and then our paths crossed a number of times before she hit the big time with Strictly.
Wow.
I sent her a text message actually after that going, oh, well done on Strictly. And she's like, oh, well, it was just something. I'm like, no, it wasn't. It was huge. So I had a lovely time.
That's amazing.
The BBC was great. It was a wonderful place to work.
Excuse me. So were you were based in Television Centre? Yeah,
in Television Centre in London. And I got loads of opportunities. I worked with Basil Brush and did a wonderful thing.
We've worked with Basil Brush.
There was a guy called, I don't know if you worked with it because there's a few different people do his voice, but there's a guy called Wink Taylor.
Oh, Wink,
and Wendy Abrams, I think is his wife.
That's right.
And Wink is also the biggest Doctor. And by the way, Wink, if you're listening to this, why have you not come up? But he is the biggest Doctor Who fan ever. And I said, we're going to film in Chislehurst Caves where that John Pertwee story, The Mutants, was filmed. And he was all over it, absolutely on it. A wonderful guy. And Wink and I just hit it off again so wonderfully. I hope he's doing great things.
Well, I was talking about Wink about 2 days ago to my friend Chris.
Really?
Yeah, Chris knows Wink quite well.
Oh, I'd love to get back in touch with him. He is on my Facebook, but he's a very busy man. Though.
He is, yeah.
So, but he was
talented.
Very wonderful talent, very talented voiceover.
So, did you work on the Basil Brush show?
I didn't. I had my own show at BBC called CBBC Extra. I think it's still on air, which was, I suppose, great testament to me and my legacy. I created it, and I took it to, from a sort of very small, nobody had heard of show to the. It was really big. It was really, really big, and Wink did a Basil Brush special.
Oh, right.
For me, and I actually just hired Basil Brush. I had no idea it was Wink, and then Wink came in, and he's like, "Oh yes, you're the Doctor Who guy." I'm like, "Yes." Wow. So we hit it off instantly. He's a lovely man, lovely man.
Yeah, it's a small world, isn't it? This
Very.
kind of. We've worked with Basil several times now, haven't we?
Yeah, well, I know him as his friend Mike.
Mike, yeah.
Yeah.
Mike Windsor.
Mike Windsor. His Basil's friend.
Basil's friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really funny because we started talking about voices because I do lots of impressions and he does lots of impressions, and we had a wonderful, funny incident during Chislehurst Caves where all the lights went out. And bearing in mind, we had a full TV production crew and loads of kids who were terrified because all of the lights went out, and I think David Simmons was my cameraman who went on to work with me on Doctor Who, and he went and fixed it. But we then ended up doing loads of different voices, but only Wink and I understood who they were. So I'm going, oh yes, well, Sylvester McCoy, very good, come along, Ace, and all of that. And he's doing John Pertwee or something in the corner. It was just so funny, I imagine we'd probably exchange quite a few interesting voices now. Because we both do that. It's great fun.
God. Would you go back to that world, the television? And
I would, as a drama director, yes. I mean, I was fortunate enough to direct a number of dramas, and yes, if I was asked back, absolutely, I would go back in a heartbeat. I would go back to drama. I got a big stint in Canada where I directed quite big drama over there, and a few dramas, and I loved directing drama. I really found my niche there. But in the end, I went into teaching and then went into coaching, and and I loved doing that, and it was far more lucrative, to be fair, than television was. But yes, is the long and the short of it. I would go back to television drama because I had such a ball doing it. It was great.
And you've done a bit of acting at the Playhouse in Sleaford, I think, haven't you?
Yeah, God, yeah, I have. The last play I did was... I've done a few plays, but the last one I did, I'll never forget, because I was in Alan Ayckbourn's, and I can't remember what the play was called now. I played a guy called Bob, and at one point Bob has to come out on the stage wearing next to nothing. I think I was in my boxer shorts or something, and some of the funniest thing of my career are, walking out onto the stage in just your boxers and then having the audience titter as they do in Sleaford. And a wonderful audience. And but there was this one particular night there was a Jamaican lady who was sat with her friend on the front, and I know she was Jamaican because she went, she made a comment quite loudly. I came out and went, oh, doing my acting thing in my boxers, and she went, oh my God, what's this? And then as Linda, I think it was Linda and I walked down the front, she said, oh my God, Doris, it's coming toward me. I tried to keep it, and then there's a wonderful fight scene later on, and I can't remember who it was, Nigel or something. He actually is meant to stage punch me, but actually punched me. And I went over the sofa, and I'm like, well, look, it's all on show now. Everyone's seen it. So a wonderful, I love doing plays. I love doing them, and I would act in them all the time if I could.
That's brilliant.
Loved acting.
Did you acted in America? Didn't you? Did you go over to America and do some acting? Or?
Well, I never. I did a lot of in America. I did a lot of camera work, and I was a presenter for Carnival Cruise Lines for quite a long time.
Oh, okay.
And did a lot of in-person camera bits and pieces. I acted more when I came back to Britain because I directed a big, massive production of Christmas Carol, which was phenomenally successful in St. Neots. And then I was in The Crucible, and I was in loads of shows, Sherlock Holmes, Dracula, all of that. Really loved acting, and I do still want to do my play, by the way.
Yes, yeah. I know. I was just thinking of that. It was a couple of years ago, wasn't it? The woman in the
woman in the painting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that one you wrote?
It's one I wrote. I wrote it a few years ago for a competition, and I won the competition. And then I put it on a shelf, as you do, and then I revisited it when I think Tony Gordon at Sleaford was saying, you should put that play forward, it's quite good. So I got them to do a reading of it one night, and then realised, okay, there's a bit of editing needs doing to this. And so I edited it, and then, yeah.
That's right, yeah. I think that was my first AGM meeting, and you were there actually.
Oh, was I?
I remember now, yeah. And you were saying about that play, and I remember about the read-through. Yeah, you've just reminded me. Actually.
It's an unusual play because it's set on a stage in an amateur dramatics theatre, and it's but it's set in two completely different time zones, and it's clever. It's a murder mystery. It's a whodunit. It's a whodunit.
Right.
And if you go, I mean, at some points, even writing it, I couldn't tell who done it. But but actually, no, it's a great play. It's not got a massive cast, but it is a wonderful play. And you know, even though I've written it myself, I shouldn't really say that, should I? but it is a good one. I really enjoyed writing it. It's a very Agatha Christie feel to it.
Yeah.
So it's really nice.
And it's
I
set
hope
on a stage.
Yeah, it's set on the turn of the new year in 1899 to 1901.
Okay.
And it's set in that dark sort of winter period, and basically there's been a murder committed, and it's not quite the woman in the painting, but she is involved. But it's working out who did it, because you're seeing the story as it originally was, leading up to the murder, and then it jumps back, and the woman in the painting's daughter has come back to see if she can solve what happened a few years later because of events that happen in the play. It's really clever. Yeah.
I'd watch it.
I mean, I read
Rich, make it
Brendan's.
happen.
I tried. I remember reading.
Try harder.
Your treatment and thinking, actually, this it sounded really exciting. I was really looking forward to it, and it just didn't quite take off.
Maybe maybe
it needs to be a May. It needs to be a May play. I think that was the problem. It was a September play, and it's harder to run a September play, you know. But if they did it in May, I suspect it would be an incredibly successful one.
Okay.
Yeah. So, it just needs to wait for its right time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and now here we are in the console room.
You're a busy man. You've got a lot going on, and So what do you do? Do you do this full time? Is this your
I'm an executive coach and learning designer. So I'm quite senior in the company I work for, and I work entirely from home. This is it was supposed to be a weekend hobby, but turned out to be. But I think the game, a lot of people sort of think it's, they're going to come in and see the console room. It's not that at all. You've got this 20-minute interactive game played with the Doctor and me. So it allows me to still flex my acting skills. And then you get to hunt through all of the different Doctor Who props that are here. Whether you're a classic series fan or a new series fan, there is something to satisfy you. And as the little girl discovered, there are some surprises along the way. And we are going to do in November, around about Doctor Who's birthday, we're going to do a series of nights where we're going to open late. So it's going to be a 7:00, 7:30 thing when it's dark, and you're going to do the console room in the dark with a new version of the game. So and we'll be opening that for tickets soon, and that'll be quite exciting. And then we've got something even more exciting, which I'm not going to reveal on this podcast, but we've got something really exciting going on. We're going to have a one-off Christmas event. So the console's going to be all Christmasified, but we're going to do again a couple of nights for whoever wants to come and do it at Christmas with maybe an appearance with Santa. I don't know, but we've got the Doctor Who birthday evenings are going to be really fun.
Oh yeah,
really fun.
Wow, that's brilliant.
We need to get on this. We've actually got it's a messenger group, isn't it? That we've been discussing when we come here and do this. And Ollie, who started the group, he acts a lot at the Playhouse as well. Actually, Ollie Roy.
Oh yeah.
And he mentioned about November, and he said, "I'd really like to do it in November." And I'm like, "What is that? Your birthday?" But then he explained that that's when Doctor Who was first broadcast. So,
November 23rd, 1963. Yes.
So maybe, we maybe book it for that.
Yeah, maybe.
It's a good idea.
It'll be good. It'll be more fun. It'll be interesting in the dark.
Yeah.
I mean, we've recently upgraded here in the last few days the lighting system here, so it's it'll be very interesting, and the music.
Before we start recording, you were telling us about some plans that you've got, sort of with K9 and
we've got a couple of plans.
So you're constantly developing it as you go along.
We've got a couple of things in the pipeline. The first one, is K9. We're gonna do a completely interactive K9. He will talk to you. He will move. He will do all of those things, and he'll work via voice.
Yeah.
But we are also doing, which I suppose I can exclusively reveal on this podcast.
Okay.
Just want an exclusive.
Yeah, always want an exclusive.
Well, Opposite here, we currently have chickens.
Yes.
Well, that area there is going to be another exhibition. So we're going to do. We've got two things, which is we're going to do it'll be smaller than this, but a Harry Potter exhibition. So we're going to have all of the Harry Potter Lego, because we own all of the Harry Potter Lego collection, every single bit that's ever been, that ever was, that ever will be. And the thing is, it's all in the house, and we thought, well, why don't we actually make a lodge that has a cafe or just somewhere to sit and have a cup of coffee if you're waiting, and then have this whole Harry Potter Lego collection, because it all, as the Lego collection here, it all lights up, and so we thought that would be quite a cool idea just to do that. So we're going to build a smaller lodge for that.
Right.
And also, I can't tell you who's invited us, but somebody has invited us, and we're going to be getting some screen-used props. A lot of screen-used props.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, quite a lot. And they're going to be ours to keep, which is amazing. And they'll all be screen-used, and people will be able to hold them and touch them and play with them, because that's the whole purpose of this. It is a sensory experience. You can press, touch, play, whatever. And we're going to incorporate them into the game, and so they may not even know they're holding a screen-used new series Doctor Who prop.
That is amazing. That is so cool.
Brilliant.
Yeah, we're not going to put them on like in these ones in cabinets there because they're on display.
Yeah.
But these ones are going to be, you're going to use them in the game.
Wow.
Well, I look forward to that. Have you got a timeline for that? When's that? Because it's taken you 30 years to build this. So
certainly that'll be in the next month, definitely.
Oh right.
So, yeah.
As soon as that.
Oh, as soon as that. Yes.
Wow.
Let's just say we're taking a little trip up to Cardiff soon. And that's all I can say.
Okay. Well, brilliant.
Who would think so much excitement can go on here in South Carolina?
It's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's,
we you just don't know, do you? It's
No, I mean, yeah, I've heard of otters on the river,
Yes.
and the kingfisher, but
yeah,
it's
this is brilliant.
It's certainly very strange. I mean, the people of South Kime have been very well. I mean, my next door neighbours, both on each side, have been just wonderful.
Yeah.
Really wonderful. And but other than that, luckily the people of South Kime have kind of just walked past with their dog and not really taken much notice, which is probably good.
Oh, it's brilliant. Now, you've told us about your illustrious career in television and doing the console room, but really what I want to know about is your appearance on Pointless.
Oh my God. That was a wee while ago. January 21. I think that was during COVID or just shortly after COVID. Yes. So we auditioned for Pointless, and then what happened? Literally it was a case of we applied the next day, they auditioned us the next day, they asked us to come down, and within 2 days we were on the set.
Yeah.
And it was lovely because one of the cameramen on Pointless was a guy called Nigel Saunders, who I knew from television. He went, oh my God. I went, hey, Nigel. And so that was lovely. Wow. And we filmed it somewhere in Elstree, somewhere down there, or Boreham Wood, it was somewhere down there. And the first time on our first, you get 3 goes.
Yeah.
And on our first go, I think we got knocked out in round 2. And in our second go, we got knocked out in round 2. But on our third go, we got all the way to the end. And only because the fella up, you know, the bit where they do the head-to-head.
Yeah.
Well, it was Football Managers, and the only one I knew was Kevin Keegan. And the other guy said, oh, that's Glenn
Hoddle?
I think he said Glenn Waddle.
Right, okay.
And he got it wrong. And he's like, well, why did I get that wrong? He says it's Glenn Hoddle. And that was the only reason we won. And we got through to the end. And then, wouldn't you know, it was our last section was one I should have got right. It was Knights in British film, and they showed me Derek Jacobi, John Hurt, and Michael Gambon. I knew all 3 of them. I knew their entire film collection library, but for some reason my mind just went completely blank. And I'm like, oh God. And Sarah said, oh, we'll say Deathly Hallows Part 2. And I said, well, I think we should say Deathly Hallows Part 1. And then we said Alien as well. I thought, well, that's never going to be Pointless for John Hurt. But I mean, we're a massive Harry Potter fan, right? And we forgot that John Hurt was actually in Harry Potter. We totally forgot it. And then, of course, I don't know, but a few nights earlier, we'd watched the King's Speech with Derek Jacobi. We never said that, and that was pointless. So if we'd have said Sarah's suggestion of part 2, that would have been pointless and we would have won. For goodness sake.
Why you should always listen to your wife.
Well, that's true. Yeah. So they say, So yeah, I mean, absolutely. But we had a wonderful time, and at least we got 2 pointless trophies.
It's very good.
So we got 2 in the house, and they're only that big.
Which
is what, 6 inches?
Well, yeah,
something like that. 6 inches big.
I'd say that's 8 inches.
Yeah. But,
wow. That's amazing.
I also want to say one thing about the console room in terms of, I want to thank the guy at Screwfix for the handle. Do you remember the handle? So this handle here, this curved handle that you pulled to come out of the... Well, trying to get that, 3 months. 3 months it took to try and get somebody to curve that piece of pipe. I even put an advert on Facebook Marketplace. Can any plumbers help me curve this bit of pipe?
Just have that tool, don't you? You just need that tool that you bend.
Well, you'd think, wouldn't you?
Pipe bender.
Yeah. So we went to official companies. It had to be bent at a specific angle because otherwise it wouldn't have sat correctly. Well, we went to companies. Well, we went to plumbers. Well, we went to, oh my God, I must have tried a bazillion times. I even got a pipe bender, tried to bend it myself. And for 3 months this went on. And in actual fact, we were getting to the point where it was just going to pull out and not be. And then we'd have to say it was 97% accurate.
Yeah.
And only the guy at Screwfix in Sleaford, there you go, I'm giving you an advert. You are a gem, you wonderful man. Because he said, well, what do you do?
Can you remember his name?
I can't, unfortunately.
Okay.
But whoever sold me that piece of pipe, the problem is I bought about 20. It's the last piece of pipe. And he said, well, what are you doing? He said, because you've bought like 100 pieces of pipe from us. And I told him what I was doing. And he's like, oh, okay. And I showed him a picture of what the TARDIS console lever looked like. And he went, oh, hang on a minute. And he went out the back and he got a spring, which he put inside the pipe. And he went, you want it at a specific... He said, oh. And he went outside to the car park, and outside Screwfix, anyone who's been outside there, you'll see there are N-shaped bollards made of steel. Well, he just went over it, and he went, and then he went inside, and he measured it. He went, hang on, like that. And he said, there you go.
Wow.
And it's perfect, and that's what is on that console. We sprayed it, and I thought, God, I'll have to get this right because we've got one. And then my dad filled it so that the top, the red thing attached to the top. So thank goodness for that man.
Top man.
Without him, it wouldn't have
wouldn't take off.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been complete.
The doors wouldn't close.
Yeah.
Daryl keeps saying who's my engineer, who's done all the engineering. He keeps saying, well, you'll pull that lever and those doors will close.
So what is that? Because that is the first thing you sort of come to when you walk through the...
It's the door control. So when you push that down, it'll make the door noise and then the door's, in theory, shut.
Right.
But there are lots of little things with the doors. Like you'll see the doors here when they're open. The back side that we're looking at now is flat.
Right.
But when you look on the doors when they're closed, you'll see they're not flat. They're angled.
They're angled, yeah.
So that sometimes confuses people.
Oh, okay.
And that was because in the TV series, the flat element of the door went further back, and that allowed 2 stagehands to open the doors because they opened manually. It was no point in making them, do a fancy electronic thing when they were going to be used once. So that's that. So sometimes you'll get a lovely shot. There's a wonderful shot in Warriors of the Deep where the Doctor pulls the handle and the camera just pans away so that you don't see the doors don't open. So thank God for that door handle, and we got that sorted.
Wow, that's amazing. That's service above and beyond. That's brilliant.
And I guess the last thing is about I have to tell a story about the girl.
Oh yeah, please do.
So we had. I say a girl. It was actually a boy. So I made a mistake there. It was a boy. It was a father and son came in. The son was autistic.
Yeah.
Massive Doctor Who fan. He ripped the game apart. He absolutely it was a wonderful thing to watch. I mean, when we was looking for things, he just pulled it. He dragged it onto the floor. It was wonderful. Oh God, I had an absolute ball watching this kid play, and. They solved the game with seconds to spare. I mean, I think they only had 3 seconds left or something. And they got in. But when he came in, he didn't react. you know, he's obviously on the autistic spectrum. And his father was like, oh, you know, he's autistic. And I said, that's fine. I don't mind, you know, and it's absolutely fine. And I said, let him play. Just let him play. That's what we're in here for. That's what we're all doing. We're all playing, right? And so he walked around the console for 25 minutes going, oh, and that's the scanner control switch. And that's the door control switch. And that one sets the time rotor going. And he's pressing it to make sure these switches did what they did. And I've never seen somebody so in their own world. It was the most beautiful thing to watch. It was quite emotional to watch. And I'm chatting away to Dad, and I was like, you know, sort of, it's good, isn't it? And he's like, yeah, no, it's brilliant. He said, he loved this. Anyway, so 25 minutes goes by and it's time for them to go. And he's like, right, come on, it's time to go. And he hung up the Peter Davison coat that, you know, we've got these costumes to wear. And just as he goes to the outside door, I said to him, did you enjoy that? And he just stopped and he turned and he looked at me square in the eye and he said, you've made my dream come true.
Oh,
it was very, it hit me. Oh, I was like, oh my God. And he just turned and walked out.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, wow. And that's what we're here to do.
He was living his best life.
He was, but that's what we're here to do. We're here to make those, whether you're 45, 55 or 5, we're here to make people's Doctor Who dreams a reality.
Something very magical about this place and Doctor Who generally. It's just when we came on the launch day and just watching people's reactions. And, you know, it must be really satisfying to know that you've created, you know, recreated something that brings a lot of joy to people.
Yeah, it is. It is. And what's an even better joy is able to share it with them. Yeah. You know, this isn't about money. I know that people might think, oh, it's a commercial venture and he spent however many tens of thousands building it. It is not I mean, Jesus, if it was a commercial venture, I'd have charged a lot more. But because actually, I often joke, you know, that it's more expensive to paint a mug at Centre Parks than it is to come and do this for an hour. And that's not the point. The point was to talk to fans, meet fans. So if you're a Doctor Who fan, classic series or new series, you're going to love this. So come and do it.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
We will.
We will. Exactly. Well, Brendan, I think since we've been talking, I bet you've got a bunch more emails from people trying to book to get on this thing. But thank you so much for.
It's absolutely my pleasure.
You're
welcome back anytime.
Oh, we'll be back.
We'll definitely be back. Yes.
Yeah. But, no, brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Brendan.
Today's episode of Strong Links was brought to you by Dansun Property Services, where quality work meets local care. From reliable maintenance jobs to property refurbs, call Dansun Property Services today. See you next time.